Sailors face many strange and scary events in the wide and harsh ocean. From dangerous deep-sea monster attacks to sightings that cannot be explained, these moments stay with them forever. Here are 20 maritime encounters that still unnerve sailors to this day. Number 20. The Megalodon that wasn't. Researchers from the Atlantic Shark Institute experienced a moment of excitement when their fish finder detected a massive Megalodon. The researchers estimated the length of the Megalodon to be about 50 feet, weighing around 40 tons. This discovery sparked enthusiasm among the team, but their excitement quickly turned to disappointment when the massive mark on the fish finder turned out to be a school of Atlantic mackerel. The Atlantic Shark Institute was conducting research here off the coast of Narragansett when under their boat, their scanner spotted something that looked like a big shark, and we thought we'd get a couple hundred, and suddenly we've got it's gone worldwide, pretty viral and frankly pretty funny. The researchers revealed that they initially mistook the school of fish for the legendary Megalodon. The accompanying screenshot of the fish finder showed a shape resembling a giant shark with a dorsal fin, adding to the initial confusion. However, the researchers later realized that the Megalodon sighting was ironically a red herring, as the shape transitioned into a school of fish that lingered around the boat for about 15 minutes. Despite the disappointment, the researchers humorously reflected on the moment, stating, "So close, but so far. The Megalodon disappeared more than 3 million years ago and will likely stay that way, but for a few minutes they thought it had returned." Number 19. Floating Navy Torpedo. Sean Shurin, an experienced boater, and his girlfriend went on a voyage to spot dolphins about 6 miles off Dana Point Harbor. It was during this excursion they noticed an unusual object floating in the water. At first, they thought it was a surfboard, but as they got closer, they found out that it had propellers. That's when Sean realized that what lay before him was an 8-foot-long Navy torpedo. The Orange County Sheriff's Department was informed, and they confirmed that it was a lightweight Navy exercise torpedo. I was like, oh my, what? There? No, we found a torpedo. The Navy also got involved and clarified that it was not live. Although it was successfully retrieved, people were curious about how it got there. The Navy, maintaining a degree of secrecy, refrained from disclosing details but did explain that such torpedoes are commonly used in training scenarios. While the majority are recovered, occasionally some may be missed during that process. Number 18. The Last Goodbye. At the age of 16, Abby Sunderland set out on a quest to become the youngest person to sail solo and unassisted around the world. Everything was going swimmingly, but on June 10, 2010, her dream turned upside down when Wild Eyes capsized, losing its mast to the seas between Africa and Australia. This left her stranded in the remote Indian Ocean. But fortunately for her, help arrived in the form of a French trawler 2 days later. Although she was saved and brought back home, her yacht was swallowed by the ocean, lost forever. At least that's what she and her family thought. A decade later, a surprising bit of news made its way to Abby. Can you guess what it was? That's right, her once-lost yacht Wild Eyes had magically returned. She was overwhelmed by this news, and it ignited a wave of emotions in our protagonist. It was discovered off the Australian coast just 12 miles south of Kangaroo Island. Time had done its part on the yacht as it was encrusted with barnacles, but for Abby, it was very emotional to see it once again. The yacht sank properly this time around. It was as if it only returned to give Abby a final goodbye. Number 17. Carpet of Fish. The world's second largest trawler, the FV Margiris, became the center of controversy after accidentally releasing over 100,000 fish into the Atlantic off the French coast. According to the owners, the spill resulted from a tear in the super trawler's net. Environmental campaign group Sea Shepherd France captured footage of the vast carpet of fish in the Bay of Biscay. France's maritime minister, Annick Girardin, described the images as shocking and promptly initiated an investigation. While the owners were saying it was accidental, others objected by highlighting that such huge discharges cannot be missed. Well, you arrive on the patch of fish and you just catch everything. This goes against the capacity of the population to regain from the predation. Sea Shepherd France called attention to the lack of control, witnesses, and findings in the maritime environment, urging the implementation of remote electronic monitoring cameras on all fishing vessels. I should also mention that trawlers like the Margiris use giant drag nets over a kilometer long for fishing. The FV Margiris, facing protests by activists, was ordered to leave Australian waters afterwards. Number 16. Bermuda Mystery Solved. On November 29, 1925, the SS Cotopaxi, carrying a load of coal, departed Charleston, South Carolina, destined for Havana, Cuba. Nothing was unusual until a month later on December 1, 1925, the captain reported facing rough weather and radio disturbances. Now this may seem like nothing to be worried about, But what if I told you they were near the Bermuda Triangle? Communication with the ship cut off completely, and no distress signals were ever received. Cotopaxi seemed to have just vanished. For the next 90 years, the whereabouts of the ship would remain elusive. Then came 2015, when underwater explorers discovered a sunken ship off the coast of St. Augustine, Florida. They could finally reveal some answers. Based on dimensions and location matching the less-known coordinates, it was identified as the SS Cotopaxi. Further investigation revealed that the ship likely succumbed to a combination of mechanical issues and weather conditions. The discovery of the ship turned out to be monumental. Why is that? Because for the first time, something this conclusive relating to the Bermuda Triangle came to light. Now it's time for today's topic. In April 2026, wildlife photographer Liam Carter set out from Port Lincoln expecting routine ocean footage. Instead, his camera captured something chilling. While drifting miles offshore, Carter noticed violent movement beneath the surface. Suddenly, a massive great white, estimated at nearly 20 feet, erupted from the water, thrashing as it hunted a large prey tangled in its jaws. The footage revealed long tentacle-like limbs wrapped around the shark, suggesting a desperate struggle with an octopus-like giant deep-sea creature. Marine experts later analyzed the video, but none could clearly identify the prey. Cyro confirmed the behavior was highly unusual. Within hours, the clip went viral, leaving one haunting question: what was the shark really fighting? Number 15. The mystery of the Sargasso Sea. A special spot in the North Atlantic Ocean has puzzled sailors and storytellers for ages, starting with its discovery. This sea became famous for its unique features: floating masses of sargassum seaweed that form big, dense patches. In the 15th century, Christopher Columbus sailed through these strange waters during his trips to the Americas, noticing the odd lack of winds and currents. Over time, the Sargasso Sea turned into a center of attention in maritime stories, with tales of ships getting stuck in the thick seaweed and the quietness of the waters adding to its mystique. As the centuries passed, it got linked to various maritime puzzles, especially the disappearing acts of ships and crews. Stories circulated about vessels getting caught up in the sargassum, trapped in a never-ending calm, unable to break free from the seaweed-filled waters. This gave rise to many stories of a tentacle-like sea monster that would capsize ships. Could this be the birthplace of sea monsters? Number 14. Empty ship. In 2013, the non-profit group Ocean Research Project made a remarkable discovery in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, approximately 800 miles from Bermuda. The team spotted a seemingly abandoned vessel named Wolfhound, and Matt Rutherford, a member of the team, went on board to investigate. Upon entering the sailboat, Matt found a messy but intact interior with household and personal items scattered around. The boat was in good external condition, but its engine was no longer working. Unsure about what to do next, the team decided to tow the vessel despite it being bigger than their boat. Initially all seemed well, but over time the strain put on their boat due to the size difference was too much. This caused their engine to seize, so they ended up releasing it, and for them that was the end of it. After the release of the video highlighting their discovery, new information started to surface. It turned out to be a sailboat owned by Alan Mignon, who abandoned it after it stopped working. Mignon and his crew were eventually rescued, but the boat was left behind, and 9 weeks later, Ocean Research Project had found it. Number 13. The Devil Sea. Similar to the notorious Bermuda Triangle, the Devil Sea, also known as the Dragon's Triangle, is known for its mysterious nature. Stories from an area of ocean renowned for the disappearance of many ships suggest a dramatic new interpretation. Fire-breathing sea dragons are the stuff of ancient legend. Located near the Japanese coast in the Pacific Ocean, this area is one of the 12 vile vortices on Earth, where the planet's electromagnetic waves have a stronger pull. The Dragon's Triangle forms a triangular zone between Japan and the Bonin Islands, covering a significant portion of the Philippine Sea, but the exact location of the Devil Sea is unknown. Legends surrounding the Devil Sea date back centuries, with stories of unexplained disappearances of ships and crews. One well-known tale involves Kublai Khan's failed attempts to invade Japan in 1274 and 1281 AD. It is said that Khan lost vessels and 40,000 crew members in that area. Later, archaeologists found remnants of Mongol fleets in the region, which made the story credible. In the 1940s and 1950s, numerous fishing vessels disappeared, particularly between Miyake Island and Iwo Jima, still unexplained. This spot is one of those places that is beyond human comprehension. Number 12. The Mystery of the Ellen Austin. The vessel Ellen Austin was under the command of Captain John Baker as it passed through the Bermuda Triangle when it encountered a ship drifting aimlessly. The captain tried to make contact with the vessel for 2 days, but got no response in return. Worried that something might have happened to the crew, He and his crew stepped on a sailboat and boarded the drifting vessel, only to find no one on it. The ship was completely loaded with supplies, which only puzzled the men further. Captain John decided to bring the abandoned ship to shore, and for that, he sent a paid crew to man the ship. For 2 days, the ships sailed together when suddenly a storm came their way. This separated them and the drifting vessel got lost. After this incident, the captain tried to find that ship for days and days. When he finally saw it in the distance, he sent a paid crew again, but mysteriously, they suffered the same fate as the crew before. When the owner of the Ellen Austin was told about this, he was so shocked that he ended up selling the company, and that was the end of the Ellen Austin. Number 11. USS Cyclops. A U.S. Navy cargo ship, the USS Cyclops, set sail from Barbados to Baltimore. It was routine stuff, carrying a load of manganese ore and more than 300 crew members, all under the command of Lieutenant Commander George W. Worley. The journey seemed uneventful until March when the USS Cyclops failed to arrive at its designated destination. Now that's when the worry bells started ringing. The ship's last message was on March 4, 1918, just a routine update about where it was, but after that, utter silence. No one could get in touch with it, and it was like the ship just disappeared into thin air. They tried to find it, of course, but the Atlantic Ocean is huge, and without any signals it's like looking for a needle in a haystack. The Navy, after searching every crevice, officially declared the USS Cyclops lost, and thus the connection of the USS Cyclops with the Bermuda Triangle commenced. To this day, people try to find it, but no one has ever recovered a single piece of the ship. Its disappearance has kept people wondering and talking, making it another unsolved sea conundrum linked to the Bermuda Triangle. Number 10. Castaway rescued. A man and his dog have been rescued after spending 3 months at sea. Australian sailor Timothy Lindsay Shattuck embarked on an extraordinary journey alongside his loyal companion Bella, a stray dog he picked up while exploring Mexico. They set sail in early May of 2023, aiming for French Polynesia from the Sea of Cortez, covering a distance of 3,728 miles. The sea was relatively quiet, perhaps too quiet. As the old saying goes, the calm before the storm. They ended up encountering harsh weather conditions. Unfortunately for them, they were inside a small catamaran called Aloha Toa, which wasn't made for such conditions and had left them stranded in an unpredictable ocean. They drifted and drifted for 3 months until a Mexican tuna trawler led by Captain Oscar Mesa Oregon spotted their vessel more than 1,200 miles away from Mexico. Shattuck and Bella had been surviving on tuna and whatever else they could find for several months. Once they were brought back, Shattuck not only praised Bella for staying by his side, but also showed gratitude to Captain Oscar. "Look to the captain and this fishing company that saved my life. I mean, how is Bella? She's amazing. Yeah, that dog is something else, you know?" Despite this experience, Shattuck said he still loves the ocean and will not stop facing it. Number 9. Ghost Yacht. In 2007, the Kouch, a catamaran, set off from Airlie Beach, Australia, on a seemingly ordinary voyage. The crew consisted of skipper Derek Batten and brothers Peter and James Tunstead. All seemed to be going well for them, and no one had any reason to think otherwise until the 20th of April, just 5 days after they had set sail, when a helicopter spotted the Kouch near the Great Barrier Reef and noticed no movement on board. Authorities decided to go on board and found signs of life. A set table, the engine running, but no Derek, Peter, or James. A laptop on deck added to the mystery, like they vanished mid-email. Very strange, they thought, so they searched nearby for the missing crew, thinking they might have gone overboard. There were even theories of possible foul play, but even after searching every wave, every reef, nothing ever seemed to surface. With nothing to go on, the investigation was abandoned, and the Kouch was deserted once again. Number 8. The abandoned yacht. Kamara 4, owned by successful businessman Patrick D. Hennessy, went on a celebratory voyage from the Caribbean to Ireland in the spring of 1965. June arrived, but the yacht didn't. It was expected to reach the port by then but was long overdue. The last communication with the yacht was on June 3rd, just 500 miles west of the Azores, and nothing was ever reported as unusual. Due to no arrival, American and European authorities joined together to find the vessel but returned empty-handed. The lack of signals or emergency only added to the mystery. A breakthrough occurred when a Norwegian tanker found a sailing yacht drifting in the Atlantic. Upon closer inspection, it was found to have been abandoned, and the yacht's identification numbers matched those of the missing Kamara 4. The discovery took place 1,200 miles off the coast of Ireland. However, the whereabouts of the crew were unknown even later. Investigations proved to be useless. So what exactly happened to them? Well, that fact, unfortunately, remains a mystery. Number 7. The reappearing ghost ship. In 1761, Octavius started its journey from London to China carrying precious woolen goods, with a crew of 28 men led by Captain S.A. Warren. The weather was favorable and the ocean was calm, so the captain decided to venture through the Northwest Passage, a voyage that at the time had not been accomplished. This decision would end up being a grave mistake. Days passed by, but the ship never reached the Chinese shores, and after some time with no knowledge of its whereabouts, Octavius was declared lost. On October 11, 1775, a whaling ship called Herald was working the frigid waters off Greenland when it spotted a ship. Upon nearing it, the crew saw that the ship was weather-beaten. The sails were tattered, torn, and hanging limply on the masts. The captain of the Herald ordered a boarding party to search the vessel, which they thought was the Octavius. After finding the deck to be deserted, they went inside, where a terrifying sight met their eyes. They found the entire 28-man crew frozen in their quarters. In the captain's cabin, they found him seated at his desk, pen in hand, with the ship's logbook opened in front of him. Some speculated that the crew succumbed to the cold and perished, while others believed something supernatural happened to the entire crew. But what really happened remained a mystery. Number 6. Unsinkable ghost ship. The SS Bachimo, a cargo steamer that began its maritime journey back in 1914, was built for trading purposes like transporting furs and other goods. Besides routine trips, there was nothing about it that stood out. That was until 1931. The ship was sailing for another routine cruise through the Arctic when it got stuck on a pack of ice. Facing the harsh conditions, the crew decided it was best to leave the ship and return after the weather died down a bit. But when they came back, the ship was nowhere in sight. Dazed and confused, the crew looked under every block of ice but found nothing. Obviously distraught by the loss of their ship, thinking the Arctic had swallowed it, they stopped searching. On one hand, a journey ended, but on the other, another began. A few days later, an Inuit spotted the ship and informed the crew. The men hurried back and found that it was 45 miles south of where they lost it. After retrieving the goods, they were sure that now it would sink because of its condition. They couldn't be more wrong. It was seen again in 1969, almost 4 decades later, and that was the last confirmed sighting of the ship. But to this day, there are those that claim to have seen the ghost ship of the Arctic. Number 5. Sailing Mummy. In 2016, off the coast of Barobo in the Philippines, a few sailors participating in a race stumbled upon a lonely yacht with the name S/YTO written on it. They decided to investigate, and to their surprise, a mummified sailor was inside the flooded cabin. They immediately called the police and informed them of what they had discovered. Investigations were underway, and they suggested that this person likely succumbed to natural causes while sailing alone, and the dry and salty sea air contributed to the preservation of his body. But who was this sailor, and why was he alone? The mummy was identified as Manfred Fritz Bajeret, a German sailor who had been sailing for 20 years. He decided to sail alone after he was divorced in 2008 and wanted some peace of mind. According to eyewitnesses, he was last seen back in 2009, and it's possible that during one of his solo trips, he passed away. Although not much was revealed to the public, it got them wondering, why would an experienced sailor not contact anyone? What do you think the reason is? Number 4. Carol A. Deering. In 1921, a 5-masted schooner was en route from Barbados to Hampton Roads, Virginia, carrying a load of coal with an entire crew. It wasn't until late January of the same year that communication with the ship got cut off, and what was once a blip on the radar disappeared like it was never there. The U.S. Coast Guard was called into action, and they began their search, tracing its last known location. They were able to find it. It was discovered aground on Diamond Shoals near Cape Hatteras, North Carolina. Worried about the crew, they quickly went aboard, but much to their surprise, it was empty. Questions were raised. Did the crew abandon ship, or did they go to a nearby town after it ran aground? The fact that lifeboats were missing supported their initial analyses. The cargo and provisions remained untouched, which ruled out piracy. They decided to look at the ship's logbook and found a series of creepy entries by Captain Willis B. Toth. He mentioned being followed by strange ships, and the last entry was made on January 29th, just 2 days before the ship's discovery. With nothing conclusive, the investigation ended in 1922. Was it piracy or something else entirely? Number 3. Marine Sulfur Queen. Originally a T2 tanker, it was later converted into a cargo ship. The Marine Sulfur Queen departed Beaumont, Texas, on February 2, 1963, and headed for Norfolk, Virginia, with a cargo of molten sulfur. But no one knew that the vessel would never reach its intended destination. 2 days passed with no updates from the captain, and on February 4th, the Marine Sulfur Queen was officially reported missing. Radio silence settled in where routine check-ins were expected, creating an unsettling gap in communication. Crew families began to worry as scheduled messages failed to arrive. Search teams scanned vast stretches of ocean, but the waters revealed nothing unusual. Pilots flew overhead, looking for any sign of distress or debris, yet the sea remained eerily empty. The absence of clues only deepened the mystery surrounding the vessel's disappearance. Investigators struggled to piece together what might have happened in those final hours. Each passing day without evidence made the situation feel more like a vanishing than an accident. This started an extensive investigation by the U.S. Coast Guard that found no debris, leaving the fate of the ship and its crew shrouded in uncertainty. The mysterious disappearance led to widespread speculation, with theories suggesting a potential event related to the nature of the cargo. Then, on March 6th, the U.S. Coast Guard declared the Marine Sulfur Queen lost. However, 3 years after its disappearance, in 1966, a life raft belonging to the ship was found off the coast of Florida. This discovery hinted at the possibility that the ship encountered trouble far from its intended route, but instead of answers, it only raised more questions. Over the years, various theories have been proposed, ranging from structural failures to supernatural reasons, each adding to its unknown disappearance. Number 2. The Kouch. Alright friends, it's story time. An ethereal fog sometimes engulfs the island of Chiloé. Legend holds that occasionally at low tide, the wind carries ghostly music and soft voices out of that fog. The air grows cold as these sounds drift over the waves, and in the mist offshore, a shape appears. The Kouch, a lovely white sailing ship full of bright lights, music, and laughter of a party. Fishermen who have witnessed it often describe the moment as both mesmerizing and deeply unsettling. The lights seem to shimmer unnaturally, flickering as though they belong to another world. As the ship drifts closer, the music becomes clearer, echoing across the water with an almost hypnotic pull. Some say the melody feels inviting at first, like a celebration just beyond reach. But the longer it lingers, the more uneasy it makes those who listen. Shadows move along the deck, suggesting figures dancing and celebrating, though their forms are never fully clear. Those who linger too long watching from the shore often feel an overwhelming urge to step closer to the water. Some say the Kouch is a living being, luring sailors aboard with its ghostly music and capturing them for all eternity. Others say it is a vessel crewed by those who have drowned at sea, brought to the ship by water spirits to live again. Still others claim that the Kouch is crewed by warlocks who make magical pacts with certain traders, offering them prosperity in exchange for dark favors and promises. Those who see or hear the Kouch but resist its call are turned into marine animals such as seals or sea lions. Whether it's a living creature, a vessel of the resurrected, or a haunt of warlocks, whichever version of the legend you prefer. If you enjoy folklore, Chile is a fascinating destination. Number 1. Massive pumice raft. Deep in the remote waters of the Caroline Islands in the South Pacific lies a chilling relic of World War II, the mysterious ghost fleet of Truk Lagoon. Over 250 Japanese planes and more than 50 ships met their watery demise in a devastating surprise attack by American allies during the war. As divers descend into the lagoon, the first shapes that emerge are the outlines of massive wrecks resting silently on the ocean floor. Layers of coral and marine life have slowly claimed these vessels, turning instruments of war into haunting underwater monuments. Rusted hulls stretch into the darkness, their broken structures hinting at the violence that once unfolded above. In some areas, scattered remnants of cargo and equipment lie undisturbed, frozen in time. The deeper you go, the more the light fades, and the atmosphere becomes increasingly heavy and somber. Feels less like exploring a reef and more like stepping into a preserved moment of history. Every movement through the water stirs a quiet respect for what lies beneath. One of these is a floating tomb, trapping an estimated 400 Japanese soldiers in its cargo hold. The legendary explorer Jacques Cousteau brought attention to this eerie underwater graveyard in his classic film Lagoon of Lost Ships, showcasing the haunting remains of war machines and the silent guardians of the deep. But the question that haunts wreck divers isn't just about the rusted metal and forgotten history. It's about the souls that may still wander these watery depths. Do the pained spirits of the crew and passengers haunt those who dare to examine the wrecks? Divers who brave these murky waters report unsettling emotions and strange sensations, as if the ghosts of the past reach out from the shadows. Some even claim to have witnessed inexplicable phenomena lurking in the darkness, filling them with a mixture of wonder and dread. If you ever find your way into the depths of Truk Lagoon, keep your wits about you. It's not every day you get to dive with ghosts, but when you do, you better be prepared for a spine-chilling adventure. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.